race to win it as well. But I think we're live now. We should be. Just gonna refresh YouTube, and we should be live. So that's just showing Austria.
Yeah, we are live. I see us, we are live.
Okay, cool. Right, how's it going, everyone? Obviously, my name is Shamrock. We're here for the URC race recap. So this is just something I thought I would do to after every race or a couple of days after the races are finished, just to look back on the main events, the highlights, and the big changes that happened throughout the weekend, pretty much. So we were supposed to be joined by Gaffo today, but he's decided to go out to a dinner. So
And you've got an upgrade of me.
so instead we managed
But
to get in contact with the season 1 champion and get him here with us, Faze Mcbot.
hello, Shamrock.
How's it going?
Not too bad myself. How you going?
Very good now, very good. Obviously, I think you didn't like Austria as the race. It was tough, and it looked to be a tough race from your perspective. We didn't get to interview you, so talk us through how you found it.
Yeah, there was a bit of, you know, I knew going into the race I had to get a good performance, like a bit of not stress, but like a bit of not nervous either. But I just knew I couldn't have a bad performance. I didn't really mind as long as I finished ahead of Banter King, but definitely not a great race for my championship. But I still gained points on Banter King, which is the main thing I wanted to do. So
Yeah, absolutely. The pressure was definitely on for Haas and Mercedes this week to score points, considering, both of them don't have the teammates to back them up, and if they made a mistake, they wouldn't have a teammate to rely on. But you had a teammate, you had an advantage over
mm.
over the Mercedes team, and you
Well, I
just
wouldn't say
didn't.
advantage
Well,
with the driver.
I think going into the race, what I'm trying to get a point is that you obviously Haas had a second driver, you know, that means could more points could have came for Haas, but clearly he had other objectives, and that was just to race hard
Mm.
and not really think about the teams at all. So he was more
Mhm.
just driving, which I think is unfortunate for you because he obviously made contact with you, and that definitely had a big impact on your race. It gave you wing damage for, I'd say, a good couple of laps,
Mhm.
and then obviously he spun Banter King, so that was obviously a big that was a lot of damage done to Banter King's race.
Mm.
So
Just even myself, I was looking back on the Austria. Austria was a very weird race. I think even as a driver, I seen like in qualifying, it was like first 10 minutes. If you got a lap in, it was your final lap because then it started raining. I think
yeah,
just with the race overall, it was just all over the place. In not in a bad way, obviously, but it was just I don't know. I wasn't sure really what was happening. Looking back on it, it looked very not exciting. I think it could have been. I think a bit. It was a bit boring. I think it could have been a lot better than it was, in my opinion.
it could
But
have, yeah,
it
absolutely.
was still a good race.
I think the rain in quali definitely made it a bit more interesting but if the rain was already there, like at the start, it could have been a more interesting quali because
Mm,
we've seen conditions with rain before in this season, and we've seen how some drivers who wouldn't be that quick in the dry conditions have pulled off monstrous laps in wet conditions. So I think if we had that from the start of qualifying, it really would have been a good qualifying, and that would have built up to a good sprint race. But
yeah, exactly,
obviously we'll move on for yourself because this isn't an interview. This
exactly.
is obviously a race recap. Let's talk about S Junior. I think he had an incredible pole lap. He went very, very quick. And how did you find, like, what would you say for S Junior in terms of the sprint race pace? He obviously managed to fight off Banter King. So would you think he was a quick driver throughout the session?
Well, Les Junior is obviously a very quick driver who came out of nowhere. Really, we first seen him in a corner to corner, but he's definitely a quick driver. Definitely a championship contender next year if he is racing next year. I'm not sure, but he's
Yeah,
definitely one of the quickest. And to defend off Banter King, season two runner up, like definitely one of the quickest drivers in the league, is obviously showing something. but we don't know. Maybe Banter doesn't like the track or whatever. But it was definitely a good performance from him.
Yeah, and S Junior, he obviously got very unfortunate, with that DNF under safety
Yeah,
car. He just lost the car. He said he got on the grass and lost the car. And obviously, you knowing yourself in races, losing the car on the grass can be a very, very costly mistake in terms of, points and where you finish. You mightn't finish at all, but it's obviously
yeah.
a very costly
I'm
thing to
actually an
do.
expert at spinning under safety car. If you didn't know,
Oh yeah,
I'm very
big.
good at it. No matter what
um,
league.
Obviously, we look at Alfa Romeo. I mean, this I think really what we saw in qualifying from S Junior and Marley. Marley, I think his race was over by the time that grid penalty was applied to him. I think that just really got to him. What do you think that the 5 place grid penalty?
Like Marley obviously shows in the races that he can make him up, and he's a good driver. Definitely, I've raced against him loads.
Yeah,
Definitely that grid penalty did set him back a bit. It might have put him off a bit. I'm not sure, but even the smallest thing can just mess up your focus for the race or whatever.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think I think in the race, where did he finish? It was outside the points.
I
I
think
think
he
he could have
finished
finished.
14th in the future
Yeah,
race. Yeah,
he definitely could have got a lot better than that. I think it was just the grid penalty that knocked them off. Like the Alfa Romeos are a very strong team this year with S Junior and Marley.
yeah,
Marley is he? I think he's still busy P4 in the championship at the moment.
yeah. Marley is P4. Yeah, he's dropped back a
So
little
obviously,
bit.
yeah, like a very unlucky race. Drivers can have good races and bad races. Like me and Banter had a very bad race this Thursday.
Yeah,
But I'd say the Alfa Romeo boys will be strong again next week. Like there's no doubt behind it.
and obviously we're looking at Alfa Romeo in terms of the standings. They're on 99 points in the constructors. Is there any way of Alfa Romeo perhaps bouncing back into this top three challenge? Now it's a three-way constructors fight. Can Alfa Romeo maybe make it a four-way title fight for the last 5 rounds of the season, or is that it kind of done for them really? Are they kind of going to be sitting chasing Alpine, or will they be able to chase the top three as well?
Like anything can happen really. We've seen it happen this year. I thought I'd be cruising the championship again, but Banter is obviously showing it. I think it's just anything can happen. Like what it takes is a couple mistakes and DNFs from the drivers ahead or the leaders and the constructors, and Alfa Romeo straight back in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because don't we cannot leave McLaren out as well. McLaren sitting on
Mm.
93 points, 6 points back from Alfa Romeo. They now have more points than they did when they finished last season. So McLaren have really stepped up their game in terms of the two drivers pulling off really good performances. But a lot about Shano from the Austrian Grand Prix. A lot of drivers were complaining about how aggressively he raced. Fair to comment on that?
I actually had a battle with him myself, and like to be fair, he texted me after and he said good racing, and I think him as a driver, he's very aggressive. Like alongside him, he could be pushing you. He'll push you to the limit. He's a lot like very aggressive compared to some of the other drivers, which is good to see as well. But yeah, commenting on it, I think he's a good racer. I think it's just he might have had a bit of some dodgy stuff last week, but sure, it can
Yeah,
happen. Like
it does happen, and every driver I think has been a victim of that this season of showing pretty dangerous driving, and some might defend too hard and they mightn't see it. It happens to everyone really. You had the same situation with Rando. So you kind of defended a bit
mm,
too hard on that inside
yeah,
line, and it just forced him to miss that breaking point. But McLaren, like I think what McLaren just have to do now is keep up that consistency. They've been very consistent ever since Bahrain, pulling off some really good results, and then coming into Austria again, 19 points went their way, so a very very good um, bunch of points for them to take away as well, but not as much as Alpine though. They didn't have the better week over the
yeah.
French team.
Like we're sorry to interrupt there, but which is
No
good as
worries.
well. It's like last year we seen the bottom field and the midfield were very close because last year it was kind of Mercedes, Williams at the top. This year, like I wouldn't say they're all close, but the whole pack is like pretty bunched up at the moment in the constructors. Like you
Yeah,
have the top three closing up close together, and then you have other like anything can happen. As I already said, one mistake and there could be another team up in the top three. You just never know what will happen.
yeah,
But McLaren definitely with a strong uh, bunch this year with Rando. He's a very quick driver, and Shano. But yeah, back to Alpine, they were just unbelievable this race. Like Griffin
Yeah,
getting up there, nobody's seen it coming. I think we all expected for Rayan to bounce back with the P3, P2, and then a P1 finish, like
yeah, I
he's a
think
very
that
good
was
driver
expected for
himself.
Rayan. I think
Mm.
you could see a pattern. You could definitely see that it was going to happen this season. We didn't know, obviously, well, I didn't know when he was going to get a win, but I knew it would be at least in one of these six races. And he's been fairly confident about Austria all week. The build up to it, he's been fairly positive. You know, his feedback from the setups to his engineers have been very, very positive. So he's been able to really get the best out of that Alpine car throughout the session, and he kept it clean. You know, he was the one driver who managed to avoid the carnage that happened in
Hmm.
the sprint race. You know, obviously Marley wasn't. Marley got collided with a Ferrari, and it just obviously he got taken out again. He got spun again. So
Yeah, he showed a real Max Verstappen drive to just win. How much did he win by 20 seconds or something like
I
that?
think it
It
was
was
20
unbelievable.
seconds in the end. Yeah,
Yeah, he just was able to get through all the carnage. I think two safety car restarts, he still bounced back. So to
yeah.
see that is obviously very promising for him. And I definitely think he'll be a contender next year, without a
Well,
doubt.
he currently sits on 70 points. He's about, if we look at the driver standings now, he's about 35 points off you and P in second place. And then obviously you are 8 points behind Banter King. So he's not that far off the two of you, but he would need at least
Exactly.
really two race wins to come back into this title
But
contention.
like, say, well, where are we going next week?
Japan.
Japan.
Yeah.
All it takes is for me and Banter to go side by side into the wall. Ryan wins. He's right back in it. Like, it really is just close up. You never know what can happen. I think by the end of this year that Ryan will be close enough to points on us. I think there'll be less than a 10-point gap between the top three.
And obviously we think that Ryan could be a serious title contender next season with Mercedes if he
Hmm.
continues up this momentum that he has to offer. 31 points for himself in Austria, 18 points by Griffin. Um, Alpine really looking like a better pairing than what season one had. Alpine was quite in a bit of a mess in season one in terms of the drivers. They really couldn't get on with each other. This season we're seeing more of a better pairing with Alpine. They've really shown it. Like they've gone from, I think they finished sixth or seventh last season in the standings. They're now third and they're in contention for a World Constructors Championship, which is pretty impressive, to say considering the first season they've had, and now they have an opportunity at it in the second
Mm,
half of the season. But Mercedes
definitely.
still dominating this season in terms of staying at the top. They've been at the top of the constructors' standing since Jeddah. Do you think that maybe might worry the Haas team that something's not clicking into place with them? Ryan Kern, more importantly. It,
Definitely with the Haas team. Like, Ryan, he's a brilliant driver. I think he's a really good driver. Sometimes he can be on pace with me in some tracks if he really puts his mind to it. He just has to calm down during races. I think he can definitely get us good points. Like we've seen it in Jeddah, he's obviously a strong track for him,
yeah,
where he finished P4. But like we've seen a lot calmer Ryan Curran there. He had no incidents. He was able to get through the pack, finish P4, which is obviously good to see.
yeah. I
So
think
if he
that's
can
the
just,
that's the regular thing for Ryan, and
mm,
I think it was the same in Bahrain. He got spun from pole and he just lost it completely. Same thing happened in Miami. Obviously he spun and Great Britain as well, and he just tends to lose his temper a bit too much,
that's the thing exactly. You
and it
need to keep
costs.
ahead the whole time.
Yeah, you have to keep that clear head because I know it's happened to a couple of drivers as well where they've lost their head. Wolves has definitely lost his head a couple of
Baku,
times. Yeah, Baku was everyone lost their head in Baku. Myself even you know, lost my head there that race, and returning there next season is going to be a URC flashback post, definitely. But yeah, I think for Haas, they really just have to try and keep the consistency up. Japan is a big week for them. It's really the matter. It's a chance for Haas to strike big time in Japan because Mercedes are down a teammate again. Banter King has to pull the ropes through again by himself in Japan, and Mercedes and Alpine both have chances to strike at the leaders at this week, and we could see a different constructor leading the championship come Hungary a week after. Uh, right, so obviously we had a couple new drivers racing in Austria. We had Tomaz with Red Bull, Gabri with AlphaTauri, and Harrison racing in his permanent seat for the first time. Any comments on the new drivers?
Tomaz, I think, is a very strong driver, and of course, Gabriella will show out as well during the season. But
Yeah,
like, I didn't see much of him to be honest. I must look back on the race, but obviously it's good to see new drivers coming in racing and good positive attitude in the chat as well. But
yeah.
Gabri, from what I've seen, seems to be pretty quick. Tomaz very quick. Who'd you say was the other one as well? Sorry,
And Harrison, he's one of the
Harrison.
new
Yeah.
drivers in his first time seat, obviously.
I've seen him in corner to corner. Like he can be very quick.
Yeah,
I hopefully like we never know. As well, it's their first race. Austria isn't a strong track for a lot of people, so maybe they didn't show it this race, but then next week Japan might be a strong track for them to show it even more. We never know. Like Rayan, he joined, nobody ever heard of him, and he's already getting race wins. Like so, you
yeah.
never know with new drivers.
So obviously, looking at the bottom five of the constructors, this is where I think this is more this battle is more for pride. It's not really for winning anything. It's more of who the better bottom five team is. And what's really interesting to see there is Red Bull and Ferrari. You know,
Mm,
two top level teams have a very good history in Formula One. And Aston Martin, after they scored little points in Jeddah, they scored about 10, and they've scored back to back 0 points. So no points finishes for Aston Martin in the last
mm.
two races, yet they've managed to stay ahead of Red Bull, Ferrari, Williams, and AlphaTauri. Does that just show, what the bottom four teams of Red Bull, Ferrari, Williams, and AlphaTauri, they're just not performing to the standard that they need to be? Is that a sign?
I'm not sure. Like I think like that Ferrari team is so strong. I think, in my opinion, like Glenn Mack showing he got P4 last week. I
Yeah,
think it's just a lot of the drivers could be, I don't know, under pressure or whatever. Like, there's no team there that I don't see that aren't strong. Like, every single team in this league is strong. I think it's just the bottom teams there: Ferrari, Red Bull, Aston Martin, Williams, uh, AlphaTauri. Like, I don't know. I'm not really sure what's happening with them, but I think what I'm hoping is near the end of the season we'll all bunch up a bit more. But
yeah.
yeah, it's definitely weird to see those top tier teams like Ferrari and Red Bull at the bottom there. But like you never know as well. Like I keep saying, anything can happen. So
Yeah,
we'll see what it is at the end.
I think what Gaffo pointed out in the team's announcement, and he said it about, AlphaTauri, Williams, Ferrari, they've all been teams that have had drivers hopping in and out of seats. Drivers,
Hmm.
have been inconsistent, not making races, not turning up to races. So they've been heavily affected by that. AlphaTauri, I mean, their record this season has been pretty disappointing. 1 point in Bahrain, 8 points in Miami, one in Great Britain, one in the Netherlands, zero in Jeddah, and then 12 in the USA. So it was looking better in the USA, and then obviously 11 in Austria. So it is looking better for AlphaTauri, but their first half of the season has been pretty dismal.
And
It has
it's
been pretty
obviously
bad.
as well being bottom of the table will put a bit of pressure, and you might be a bit not annoyed, but a bit disappointed, and it might just affect your racing really. Like knowing you're at the bottom, and you might think, oh, what's the point of us even racing anymore?
Yeah,
Which is not really what you want to have. You kind of, if you're at the bottom, you want to try and get back up to the top. That's the whole point of racing. Like you want to be
yeah,
at the top, you want to be the quickest. And yeah, showing a
exactly.
bit of improvement from USA to Austria from the AlphaTauri boys. They can definitely prove it in the next race as well. So we'll
And
see what happens.
obviously, yeah, exactly. And obviously, Williams and Ferrari are now showing some improvements. Obviously, Ferrari, we know the start of the season they had and how their first half was very jumpy. 17 points in Bahrain, five in Miami. So a very good first two rounds, I think, for the Ferrari team.
Hmm.
And they were very much in the top five. And then just in great after three races in a row where they really dropped off. Great Britain, Netherlands, Jeddah, all no point finishes, and only 4 points in the USA. So I think what Glenn did in Austria, despite all the spinning, and says, I've spun again, to come back and grab 12 points in Austria, I think is a big, big help for Ferrari because it levels them on points with Williams. It puts them just that little bit closer to Red Bull. But I think Red
Hmm.
Bull aren't going to let Ferrari get ahead of them. I think we're going to see, we have Red Bull will have OP Gamer racing in Japan, so Red Bull will have their new lineup fully racing in Japan. Hopefully to God, and then we can see really how Red Bull bring the challenge, and they'll hopefully try and jump Aston Martin because I Aston Martin, they've had such inconsistent races. I don't see how they're still sixth in the standings despite
Mm.
you know the lack of points that they've had in the last two races.
And the thing that I find very interesting as well, as you were saying, I've only realised like there isn't that much of a gap between Mercedes and Haas, despite Ryan Curran not showing up or not proving how quick he is. But like
Hmm.
the pack from P1 to P3 is so close, and I
Yeah,
think the bottom fight and the top fight would be the biggest fight to be watching out. Like it's good to see that there's a bit of a battle no matter where you are in the grid. Shows a bit more
exactly.
entertainment and everything like that.
I
But
think that
yeah, go on.
yeah, I think the top five fight this season has been really, really something to watch. I think it's been definitely more closer than last season, and obviously last season pairings were very, you know, they were very random. It was very, who wanted to be with who, and it was that's how it was set. This season, I think was obviously a more direct approach to the teams, and Mercedes has had a really good lineup, and Banter King has been so consistent. Four race wins this season. I mean, you couldn't ask for more of him.
Mm.
Obviously yourself, you've been quite unlucky in times. You've had two race wins to four race wins is is obviously um there's obviously a bit of a gap there, but you've obviously Haas have obviously missed a race. You've obviously missed a race as part of the championship. So considering where you are and where Haas is, it's still a very a plausible achievement. But yeah, for Mercedes, absolutely, I think we could see Mercedes continuing this domination. But Banter King, he doesn't feel confident about Japan. He obviously with Austria now not being his best race, then going into a race where he doesn't really have that confidence either. Could we see Banter King in a stage of a difficult stage maybe by Japan?
Yeah, like as I said, Austria is a difficult track, but you never know. It could be a bit of mind game from him, but I do actually think he is a bit struggling with Japan, like everybody else is. I'm struggling myself with Japan. I think it's just a very hard track to get used to, but I don't know. I think he's not going through a rough stage. He's been so consistent. I think he'll still get a very good point finish. Like you know him, he's just very consistent, as you already said. I think like Mercedes in a whole, even without his teammate, I think he's going to score points for them. But yeah, obviously drivers are going to like and dislike tracks, but you just have to get on with it. Like you can't really deny it. You just practice and practice a bit more.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, and obviously, if we look at Williams, then the Williams team, they were season one constructors champions. This season, they're ninth. Obviously, different lineups, different drivers completely. Um, but Williams, they're slowly recovering. They had a good result, obviously in Jeddah with S Junior reserving for them, getting 18 points. 3 points scored in the USA, 8 points scored in Austria. So it's looking a little bit better for Williams, and they are slowly improving. Could we see Williams maybe getting up to sixth? Could that be a difficult target, or is that a target that they can achieve maybe by Abu Dhabi?
I think it'll be close. You can't really guess it. Like you wouldn't be able to put a bet on any of the teams at the moment. Like we see Williams improving, Avatari improving, Ferrari getting good points last week. Like I think it'll just be a war, a battle to get that P6 and get to the midfield and
Yeah,
not stay at the bottom because like you can't really put a bet on any team at the moment since we're all battling very hard.
and do you think that the obviously is the top five locked out now for a bottom team to get in there? Obviously, McLaren, they're the last team in the top five with 93 points. Is it possible, with 5 rounds to go, for any of the bottom five teams to get up there and maybe jump McLaren by God how that happens, but is it possible?
In my opinion, I think it'd be not impossible, obviously, but I think it would be a very, very hard
Thing to,
challenge
yeah.
for those lower teams to do. Well, what do you think? Like, I think honestly, in my opinion, any team, as I said, can jump up, but that what gap is it? Almost 40-point gap is going to be
Yeah.
very difficult for those lower teams to get up.
Well, obviously, we cannot leave Brazil out. Brazil is the last sprint race, and that will be a vital opportunity for the bottom five teams to really get some extra points on and, take a challenge. But it's all about, Japan, Hungary, and Austria, how any of the bottom five teams handle those tracks because they need to get the points big time. Like, as you said, the closest team to McLaren is Aston Martin, and they're almost 30 odd points off, maybe even more. So maybe we could see Red Bull jumping Aston Martin, but I don't see Red Bull catching McLaren with McLaren's consistency, and we're going to see that obviously in the next couple of rounds as well. I don't think McLaren will be caught, and I think McLaren at this point now they're like, we don't have to worry about the bottom five. Alfa Romeo and Alpine are now our targets, and they want to get into the top three. They're no longer focused about the bottom five. As that's my opinion anyway. But as you said, yeah,
Mm.
anything can happen. In these last five races, they're tracks that offer a challenge, and some tracks are difficult to overtake other than others. But Brazil, I mean, that's probably one of the best tracks to overtake on. That big back main, that
Hmm.
back straight is the DRS is so powerful there, and obviously then you get the DRS for the second straight as well. So overtaking opportunities are so welcome there. I think we could see a couple of teams changing up the standings by Japan or Hungary even.
Yeah, definitely. And I think going into the couple of last races, drivers are going to be a lot more serious and be a lot more focused, I think, because they're now realizing like this is a battle that they need to be doing, especially with the lower teams. But as you said on Brazil, yeah, I think it'll be a very vital race for all teams, not even the title contenders. Like to get those
Yeah,
extra points in the sprint race, like it'll just make such a big difference to the whole championship.
and I don't know if you can see it in the races now, but you can see that some drivers are more desperate than others to get the points. I can definitely see it. Some drivers are really giving it everything to
Yeah, which it can be a good thing and a bad thing. Like you can be too desperate and spin or crash and cause a penalty for yourself. But
yeah,
definitely to see that fight in the drivers is obviously good to see.
definitely. I think um just some of the like especially the drivers in McLaren, Alfa Romeo, they're all really trying to push themselves to get those points because they need them now. They need them more than ever. Alpine they've just seen what Alpine could do in one race weekend. Obviously the sprint was there, but Alpine put in some teamwork there and look what they got. They got rewarded heavily. They got to P3 in the constructor standings and they're now in a contention um with Haas and Mercedes. Alfa Romeo are sitting there like that could have been us. And it could have been, you know. S Junior, he was probably on to win that race, and he would have had 8 points from the sprint. He might have got 25 from the race. Marley's points would have obviously been included there, so Alfa Romeo could have been really up there with Haas and Mercedes, really close going into Japan. But it wasn't meant to be with that mistake from S Junior. Do you
Mm.
think he's a bit disappointed, and he might feel that he let Marley down?
Obviously, you're gonna be disappointed with a mistake like that. Like under safety car, you're trying to decrease speed from actual race speed, and to make a mistake warming your tires is one of the most, not most, not even embarrassing, but it's just so disappointing on yourself to even do that. I think
Yeah,
he'll obviously be a bit disappointed and sorry for not his own championship, but the Alfa Romeo championship definitely.
yeah, and I think that's some of the attitude that some of these new drivers are taking. That it's all on the constructors now, especially the Red Bull drivers. Obviously, I spoke to the Red Bull drivers. I said, obviously, I recommend to put your efforts to the constructors, not the drivers, and they were like, yes, exactly, we agree with that. Because
Mm.
it's 6 or 5 rounds to go. It's 5 rounds to go. Like so, they can't really challenge for the drivers' championship because that's really not out of question, but it's really between. you yourself, Banter King, and possibly Rayan, depending on how the next three races goes. But I don't see any other driver getting up in that fight.
Exactly. Like, I think it's kind of locked off at the top three in the actual drivers' standings. But you never know. Exactly, you never know. I think I've said that over 100 times, but you
You've
actually
said
do
that
never know
multiple
what's going to
times,
happen.
yeah,
You never know what's going to happen really in the whole championship. So we'll just have to
absolutely.
wait and see.
And then right then we'll get on to the build up for Japan. Then obviously Japan round 8. After that, 4 rounds to go. 8 rounds into the season, Mcbot. Can you believe it? Season 2 has just 4 rounds to go after Japan.
Oh, it absolutely flew, to be honest. Like, I only kind of realised that it was the last couple of races to go, and I actually needed to knuckle down and actually start proper getting into it now. I think it's just, I don't know, they flew by, and it's been a very good championship so far. It's a bit mad to think that we're already done 8 races, like that's 8 weeks, including a break, so 9 weeks passed. And it only felt like it started a couple of days ago, so
Yeah,
obviously it's good to see that we're obviously enjoying it to keep it going, so.
exactly. And with 4 rounds to go, I think we could see pressure building up, especially from the title drivers like yourself and Banter King bottling under pressure. It's a very common thing, and it happens. It happens to a lot of people when it's in a championship situation or even in the constructors. There's just a lot of pressure. Like just a question now to you here, because obviously you are a driver. Are you feeling any pressure? In these last 5 rounds?
Definitely, like I didn't expect myself to be, but I never knew it was going to be this close. But I definitely didn't expect to be feeling this. But even going into the races, like I actually have to proper try, and when I'm racing, I be as quiet as I can in the party because I'm just proper focused. Like
Yeah,
I came into this season, I think, being a bit too cocky, and it's kind of biting me back now, and I really need to actually try
yeah. Because
because I definitely didn't expect this much of a fight.
I do remember you saying like, I'm gonna win the championship easily, and that's obviously because you dominated the season one. You're taking your mentality from season one. By like 7 rounds into season one, the championship was pretty much out of question for you. I think you were on
Hmm.
150 something points, and you just dominated the season. You were scoring a podium pretty much every race, and if not that, it was a win. This season I think has been pretty different. Banter King has really stepped up the game. He's really brought the fight, and a bunch of new drivers coming in every week. Rayan now. He's going to obviously bring the challenge next season in the Mercedes. Marley, he has a lot of potential in him. I think Rando as well. Griffin is definitely going to be a title contender next season. How much he's improved from season one to now. It is absolutely incredible. Shano as well, very very talented driver, has a lot to give. Had a very good result in Bahrain for McLaren. Bluefoot and Monosaurus, a lot to prove. Bluefoot, I thought this would be his season. I thought he would be, definitely getting off to a better start. He hasn't. Rhinoceros obviously joined in Miami. He's had some really good results with Miami and Great Britain. Other than that, he hasn't really had the best results. Wolves again. Wolves looked promising at the end of last season. He hoped that it would start fresh this season, and it has. It has so far for him. A podium in Bahrain, first race of the season. He's looked pretty good. Ryan Curran as well. Ryan Curran with McLaren last season had a good season for himself, and now with Haas he's pulling off some really really good results. His best results obviously Jeddah. The rest of them have been a
Hmm.
bit disappointing.
Yeah,
And
Wolves definitely have stepped it up. I think the biggest surprise was Griffin, to be honest. Like he
mm,
started off in LOI like tier four. I remember before I even met the fella, I used to think he was like a liability on the track, man. I wouldn't even go near him. I thought he'd take me out. But he's definitely showed the pace. Like I'd be doing 5 lappers with him, and he'd be winning against me sometimes, depending on the track. Like his pace has definitely got a lot more. Shano as well, and Wolves. I think Wolves just needs to calm down a bit in the races. But yeah,
yeah, definitely Wolves. I think he needs to. I think Wolves has a common thing of where if something goes wrong, he blames himself really heavily for it, and I hate to see it. I have to I have to talk to him sometimes, telling him to calm down and not blame himself so heavily because it's not his fault a lot of the time. And obviously he spun you in Austria, and he even said it after the race. He was chaos and he was a nightmare, and taking out his future teammate. He does obviously want to do. He doesn't want. He obviously wants to race you cleanly to give you that obviously the image that he's a clean racer for next season, and you have nothing to worry about when you're racing him. But obviously he's seeing it in a lot of different ways right now that he has been a bit of chaos, and so
Yeah, like he does need to be more easy on himself. Like I have talked to the fella, he's a good fella. I obviously was very annoyed at him when he spun me out, and like obviously anything can. I was gonna say anything can happen again, but like I can't really blame him. Like stuff happens, accidents happen. Like it happened to me with Rando last week. I honestly didn't mean to push him off that much. It's only just racing. You're in the moment, so like we have to forgive him, and he has to forgive himself.
yeah,
Like mistakes happen, and he can bounce back definitely.
because obviously with Japan racing side by side like that is going to be very very. It's not really going to end well. It's obviously it's likely
Deadly.
that it never will end well, especially in that first S sector. You got to be at least you got to back out there, and if you stick with it, there's a high chance you're spinning your car and ending your race. And there's going to be obviously a couple of words exchanged between drivers. I highly think that's going to happen after Japan.
Mm.
We're going to have a couple of arguments because um
It's a tricky track for
yeah,
overtaking. Like I know what you mean. It's just going to be really you're going to have to focus on keeping it clean that race. I think penalties will be a big thing because like it's a tough track for track limits and just overall racing.
yeah, definitely. I think Japan. I think it's going to be a hectic race, but hopefully we will. Hopefully it'll be a good race. I think the build up to it. The teams that really do have to perform and to keep an eye on is definitely Alfa Romeo and McLaren. Alfa Romeo need a big bounce back. Um, they need to. S Junior will be looking for redemption in Japan. McLaren again will be looking for a consistent race results, and then obviously Alpine will be trying to catch Haas and put the pressure on them. Whereas Mercedes, Banter King has a lot of defense to do and a lot of work to do come Japan.
Mm.
And for the last thing, um, so obviously obviously Faze, you would like this championship to go to the last round just because of how
Yeah.
exciting it would be and what it would mean for the league. If it does go down to Abu Dhabi, like after Brazil with the sprint race points and everything like that, if it does go down to the last race, just how much like would the pressure be?
Like I wish it goes down to the last race, but I think if it does go down to the last race, I will be under pressure a lot. Like
Yeah,
I know it's only people could say, "Oh yeah," but it's only league racing or whatever. But like it's actual, you feel the emotions that can happen. I think definitely it'll be very, very pressuring if it does go down to the last one. But it's what I hoped from the start of the season. I asked for it
yeah,
because I enjoyed winning last season, but I didn't enjoy no racing. So
exactly. And obviously, like, you know, it's going to be the idea of Hamilton and Verstappen. Will it be a second world champ? Will it be a second world title for Faze, or will it be a
or
first
first for
ever world
banter.
title for Banter King?
Mhm.
And that's going to be the energy if it comes to that close. Um, if it comes that close, come Abu Dhabi, it's going to be very electrifying. The build up to it as well will just you'll feel the nerves. I'll probably be nervous. I'll be probably having a nervous shite before the race because it's just gonna there's gonna be so much on the line. It could be, we could be looking at a four-way constructors title fight that could be decided in Abu Dhabi. We could be looking at potentially, it's not likely, but potentially a three-way drivers championship if Rayan really does pull off the results. But it's more likely to be a two-way fight between yourself and Banter King to the end of the season, and that I think a four-way constructors fight and a two-way drivers fight in the last race.
Yeah, sorry, just going back onto the pressure thing there. I think just that's why I'd love it to go down to Abu Dhabi. Like, I enjoy the pressure or whatever like that. I think it'll be really fun. Obviously, if I said to Banta as well, if I do lose, I said I'd rather lose it on going down to the last race than to lose it earlier on in the season. I think it'll definitely make it interesting. It might bring a couple of more followers into the league, hopefully, if it goes down to the last race. But
Yeah.
that's all I hope for. So that's what we hope.
I'd say you're preparing your your speech.
Uh, I have a speech, but I don't know if I'll read it. I will prepare a speech for the last race, of course.
Yeah, because I think either way, I'd like to hear from both drivers at the end of the season.
Mm.
Because you have provided a quite a good season so far, and even if you don't win the championship, I think it'd be good for you to, be in the party and congratulate each other, talk it out, and
Could I flip a question on you here now?
yeah, you go on.
In your opinion now, give a proper answer.
Mhm.
I'll give you two questions. First question. In your opinion, who's winning constructors and who's winning drivers?
Here, you're gonna throw those questions on me.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, proper answer. There's no comment now. Answer properly. Who do you think?
Okay. Okay,
I don't mind. You can say what you want.
I don't think Haas are gonna win constructors.
Okay, I can
Based off
understand that.
Ryan Curran's performances, I don't think Haas are winning constructors, unfortunately. I mean, you can get as many wins as you want, but like you need a teammate to be doing the second job as well, and he hasn't been since Jeddah,
Mhm.
so he hasn't been there. Um, I think it's
Or
gonna.
actually, do you wanna give your top three there from starting from three to first in the
Okay,
drivers?
so Haas will be third in the
Okay.
constructors if they're not caught by Alfa Romeo.
Mm.
So fourth and third could be between Alfa Romeo or Haas.
Uh-huh.
Second, I have a feeling will be Alpine.
Ooh.
I don't think Alpine will. If Wicked Red gets up to form, I don't think Alpine will catch Mercedes because Banter King has just been on point this season, and I think Mercedes will win the constructors.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
when it comes down to the drivers,
Do top five drivers. I want to hear this now.
to do top five, okay.
Yeah, top five. Maybe look at standings there, whatever. We'll see what you
P5,
think.
I'm gonna put Griffin.
Yes.
He's gonna overtake
Ooh.
Rando in the standings.
Okay.
Rando will be a close sixth.
Okay.
I think Marley's gonna stay fourth. I don't think he's jumping Rayan, but Marley will do everything he can to stay ahead of Rando, so he's gonna go fourth.
Okay.
In third, Rayan, definitely he's not catching him.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
I want to hear
second,
no bias, no bias now. I don't mind. What you think?
I think you're gonna have a crash.
Ah, you. Ah!
I think in one of the races, if I don't know which one it's gonna be, but I think you'll have a crash.
I haven't crashed off even now. Come on.
No, you haven't, but I think just with the pressure and if you're stuck behind a driver, you might get too aggressive and make a move that will
All right.
end your
I
race.
respect it definitely. I understand where you're coming from, but I guess I'll just have to prove you wrong then.
Yeah, but with Banter King, I see him winning it, but there's a part of me that sees him crashing as well. And again, I don't
Into
know
each
what
other? Question
race.
mark. Crashing into each other,
Maybe
maybe.
into each other, yeah. But if they were to crash into each other, somehow he would still be in the race, but he wouldn't. He would probably like recover the P10 and only get a point.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is just me and Banter King. Obviously, I know him and he's a good fella, but I think we both have completely different driving styles. Like, he's a lot more precise. I think he's very smooth the way he drives. Me, I just throw all the ARS out the window on the first lap and just go full aggressive, waste all my tires,
Yeah.
which is good to see. Different driving styles. And yeah, if there's a crash, it probably will most likely be me, but you never know what's going to happen. So I said you
Yeah,
never know again. How much is that now? 10? 10 times I'm after saying it.
I think we will see, title controversy with whether it's a love tap or a bit of a spin or contact being made. We
Mm.
will probably see that in the last five races because Banter and King is going to want to give it everything. He's not going to want to let you get ahead. So
And,
we
and, and as I just said there, he's very smooth, but like he can be very aggressive as well sometimes if he wants to. He's a little feisty driver. I've raced him in LOI, so he'll definitely be close.
Gaffer just said I have a unique driving style which I would love to see in the league.
Yeah, go away corner to corner, you're washed.
Gaffer, go away with that Wash League.
Yeah, I was kicked out corner to corner. Can I just say that?
I
Um,
left willingly.
I was kicked out corner to corner. I was going to be a commentator. You've lost a very good talent in commentary, so yeah. Anyway, moving on. Go on, Shamrock. What were you saying?
I was saying that. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Ah, fuck's sake, Gaffer, you and your fucking comment.
What were you
Yeah,
saying anyway about banter?
I was saying that I think Banter is really gonna give it everything. He's gonna have the motivation that he was runner up last season, and he's gonna use that, and he's like, I'm gonna use that to beat Faze. I
Yeah,
was in here in his rear wing a lot of the time last season. I want to be ahead of him. I want to beat him this season, and put
to be
myself
honest,
on
like
that champions wall.
being being fully serious, like I obviously would be disappointed if I didn't win, but I think if I did win, I'd have to feel for Bounty King, man, because he like if I do win after he's lead the whole like season, I think it'd just take a good knock to him. Like I don't
It
know if he'd be
would,
the
yeah.
same the next season.
I think he would have felt like he lost out a bit, but he's definitely pulled off the results. He's pulled off the recovery drives, and he hasn't given up when it knocks him down. So he's definitely become championship material this season, and it's you know he can only blame himself if something goes wrong in the last couple of rounds.
Hmm.
If he loses the car himself, it's his own mistake. He has to be frustrated with that, but it can happen to anyone. But right now, he
Exactly.
obviously has an 8 point lead. He'd be looking to keep that and he'd probably extend that in Japan if he can.
Yeah,
But
he
obviously, he
has the
knows.
advantage with
Yeah,
points and wins. So even if it does come down to the last race for the 0.1% chance that it's level at the end, he's obviously going to win because he has 4 wins this season. So
yeah.
yeah, he does have the advantage over me. I did miss the first race, but I can definitely see it going down to the last race.
S Junior's asking for his points for
His
Jeddah.
driver's points. I think we bring him in, give him his driver's points.
No, S Junior, you can't have them because you got them for Williams. You were,
Ah,
you
come on,
were,
get him in.
no,
We give him
no. I
his.
did that last season and it was just ridiculous.
Right.
So S Junior, because you're Alfa Romeo now, you have to earn points for them for yourself. You were a
We give him
reserve
his
driver.
driver's point on his spin there on the safety car.
Yeah, Williams got the points because you scored them. But you weren't an actual driver. Is my point.
Did the Grass get a penalty there for spinning out S Junior?
You don't get
I'm sorry. I'm
S
sorry.
Junior. You don't get driver's points because you weren't an official driver on the season. You were reserving for Glenn as he was a Williams driver at the
Oh
time.
no way. Actually, I'm gonna try and pick a question for you, Shamrock. Another one because you've asked me
Well,
questions.
S Junior, no other reserve has got their driver's points when they've filled in for another team. So I'm not just going to give you the special treatment. Best I can do is a penalty point for the grass. What's your question, Faze?
I'm trying to think of one now. All right. If what do you think the most exciting race will be coming up to the last one?
Um, I would say, looking at it here, either Hungary or Brazil,
Okay.
because Brazil is
Hungary or
where the
Brazil?
pressure
Well,
boils,
mm.
because that is sprint race as well, and then obviously a race, so extra points again. You know, one of the championship contenders can win the race, can win the championship there with those sprint race points.
Mm.
So it could make a big difference. So Brazil is definitely the one to be excited for. But you know, there's some really good tracks like Japan, Hungary, Austria, Australia coming up. Great, really great
Australia?
tracks. Australia's round 10.
What? Didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Anyway, no, I didn't.
Ah, here.
Oh no, don't like Australia. Anyway, if anyone wants to put a question in there in the chat because we are running out of questions ourselves.
So S Junior wants the driver's points, but Alpha don't gain anything. No, because no other reserve has got that treatment in this season. Maybe last season, because last season was a shambles.
Can the grass be taken out next season? I'll send a message there to Codemasters after and ask them can they just make it concrete there or whatever, just so you
I'll
stop
send a
feeling.
text to Bottas so he'll get a cut.
Yeah, no matter. What was I gonna say? Do you think there'll ever be a tier two in URC?
Ah, hopefully. I think it'd be hard to manage with college and stuff, but and looking for a job. So you know,
Yeah, like as it's going, if it keeps going the way it's going, like we've obviously grown a lot more. We're bigger than wheel to wheel, corner to corner already. I think if we just keep growing the way we are, we can definitely be a big league, definitely tier two, and maybe
yeah,
even a tier three if it keeps going the way it's going. But obviously we have big competition with anyone that's joining an Irish league is obviously going to go to LOI, like. But if
yeah,
you want another small league, like we're definitely up in contention.
definitely. We are obviously the driving standard is obviously still to improve, and it's improving every week,
It is
pretty much.
improving. I think just we got a bit of a bad reputation from season one because season one did show some bad driving, to be honest. But it's definitely improving with the new drivers as well coming in. Like we lost a lot of drivers from season one, Mayo
Yeah,
Man, Blue Gunner, Bouncy, all of them. But obviously good to see new drivers coming in. So I think we can only go up from here. That's all I'm saying.
that's the plan. Hopefully, I think you know see how the season goes, and then obviously how next season goes as well, because obviously as with the lineups from season one and from season three and the calendar, it does look very good. It does look very competitive, and yeah, definitely we'll be excited for that. And the last comment before we end the stream: S Junior says petition to replace Abu Dhabi with Monaco
Yes, 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 yes. Get it done. Get it done.
for the season finale.
Yeah, thank you, S Junior, for that idea. That's going straight in the league suggestions. Thank you very much.
No, it has to be Abu Dhabi, I'm afraid.
To be honest, man, I've been trying Monaco this year, and I'm not as good as I was last year, I'll tell you that. So I'm not sure if I'll even win next season.
S Junior says wait. S Junior, you were
Wait.
keeping us live. Oh, here.
Karaoke night. Yes! It's happening, it's happening. Uh, September 15th, it's happening. There you go.
I have no problem with it happening after the season ends.
Could we not just do a karaoke night? Yeah, okay. So, it's a karaoke night after Abu Dhabi.
Hmm.
Alright, it's getting done. What about podcast with Glenmac?
That's not happening.
Can that happen, but we won't
If we're,
talk about the Rwanda genocide?
if we're trying to get us cancelled, that's not
We're
happening.
not. We're not. Glenmac says he wants to do a podcast to talk about everything except URC, which is a
Because
good idea.
Glenn would just be like, do you know the Rwanda genocide there, Faze? It's
Yeah,
spun me
Faze, I was in
again.
it. You have to love the man Glenmac. Shout out to Glenmac.
Shout out to Glenn
And
Mack,
one
yeah.
final question. Alright, S Junior, here we go. This is the last question now. Better be a good one. Shamrock, I have a question. Oh, please,
Please,
Papa
Papa
Shamrock.
Shamrock, can I have my Jedi
Ah,
drivers?
come on, get him in. Come on, get him in. Please, get him in.
No, because there's reserves this season who didn't get their drivers' points. so I can't do this.
Uh,
Like when Rayan started, I don't think Rayan reserved, but um, like when Rando reserved, did Rando reserve in Miami?
no.
Yeah, he did.
What did he?
Yeah, and
I have no
he
idea.
didn't. Oh no, he was official driver in Miami. Who actually reserved and then started in the season? I don't have a record of who scored points, but sorry, S Junior, it's just not happening.
I was racing for Alpine in Miami.
You were in an Alpine Haas.
Yeah. It was a special livery. There you go.
S Junior, I can't make an exception.
Ah, he's from Laos. Leave him off. He's already gone
I
through enough.
can't leave him out. I can't do that. 18 points would put him ahead of Ryan Curran, like.
Oh, wait, never mind then. Sorry.
Yeah, it would knock Ryan Curran to 12th.
Alright, can't do that. Like, Ryan's the GOAT.
It would actually put him ahead of Wolves as well. Yeah,
It's fine. I'll
18.
just win the next 4 races.
You do
Yeah,
that. Do
Junior, I
that.
don't mind if you win the next 4 races. Just make sure I'm P2.
Yeah, you earned them fairly, yeah, but as a reserve. Sorry, I remember when I reserved for in LOI, and I reserved for Red Bull. Got a race win. Didn't get any driver's points. Take it to court. Open a ticket, and I'll take it to the high court. This can probably be discussed if we can get an outcome coming. Right, so that's it then for the URC race recap for Austria. We'll be back after Japan again next weekend, I'd say. Um, Hopefully you enjoyed this stream, and let me know what you thought. Obviously, I'll hopefully come back with a plan on how to do these race recaps, and what kind of more like not go off topic every now and then, but yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed this live stream. Faze, thank you for coming on with me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Gaffo, hopefully you're choking on your steak.
Yeah, he's not here next week, man. Gaffo, I hate you.
Jesus Christ.
I actually don't like you. Just letting you know, I don't like you. Anyway.
Alright, that's it from us, guys. See you in Japan in 5 days' time. Have a good one. Sweet.